Hello and welcome to the Movie Podcast. My name is Daniel, and today, this is our spoiler cast for The Batman. Joining me on this ride through Gotham City is Shahbaz.
Hello.
And Anthony.
Hello.
I think you tossed around the idea of doing a voice in your head.
I did.
Yeah.
And then you did the voice, so
You can do the voice with me?
we can't do two voices.
What was your voice going to be, though?
It would be similar to Shay's voice.
Try it. I want to hear it.
I can't do it anymore.
Aw,
I have to prepare myself. Takes a couple of minutes.
Take some time. I need some makeup for Mike Marino.
You'd be the worst Batman ever because you couldn't even go stop a crime because you'd be taking so long to perfect
But
your
I don't
voice.
have to talk.
You'd be the silent Batman?
Yeah, like Robert Pattinson. He doesn't really talk.
He did.
He says one word. He has enough minutes after he
He has enough time to think of what he's going to say.
exactly, and
He's not a
get
witty
that
Batman.
voice.
Yeah, I think Daniel and I would probably be like witty Batman.
Yeah.
And then you'd be all like...
Well, is it Batman or Spider-Man? Why are they cracking jokes?
We'd be witty Batman, and then Anthony would be like, the door's open. Like, well, yeah, walked on.
Everyone's dead.
Serious
Everyone's dead.
Joker. That's his name. You could have said it faster.
Yeah. This is the Movie Podcast spoiler cast for The Batman. So from this point forward, there will be full-on spoilers for The Batman. If you've watched this movie, we know you've watched this movie because you clicked on this episode and you want to get all the details for
Unless
this
you're
movie.
some sicko who just loves spoilers.
Yeah, you sicko. Get out of here if you're listening to this. No, stay, please.
Stay.
Download the episode. It's good. It's good. I'm so excited that we get to talk about this movie now without any restrictions. We could talk about everything that we've saw. We could spoil the hell out of it. But I just want to remind you, as always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday. And watch out throughout the week for our review episodes and all the latest movies and series. Check out our Turning Red review, which is out right now. We love that movie, and we want you to hear our thoughts on it. And make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd at The Movie Podcast. You can also write into the show at
Hello at TheMoviePodcast.ca.
You can also give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, join our Discord, give us 5 stars on Spotify, and just come hang out with us. We have a lot of fun things planned for March and April especially. April's going to be a really big month for us, so stay tuned. You do not want to miss what we have going on. This is kind of a free-for-all this episode because this isn't a standard review. We are just talking about everything that we want to talk about with the Batman. So, how are you guys feeling? You guys have seen it twice now. I saw it for a third time. We're probably going to go see it again.
Yeah.
We're a week and a half removed from seeing it from the first time. So, I guess I want to start off with, how did you guys feel seeing it for the second time after having almost a week off of watching it? How did it change how you felt about the film? I'll get you to start, Shay.
It was more exciting. I think we also went with a bunch of friends as well. So kind of just looking over, seeing their reaction to when things were happening was also the most interesting part. But I think this time what I really enjoyed was...
Yeah, sorry, that was the Batman theme playing as well,
I was
too.
like, what's he doing in here?
It was this playing. It was the Super Pets trailer that was coming in. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I didn't
Interrupt me more, please.
It's not
Keep
stopping.
going.
It's
Keep
not
going.
stopping.
Why haven't you stopped playing it?
It's not stopping. Sorry, go on.
Turn off your phone.
Yeah.
So watching it, I think this time what I liked more about it was I got to pay attention. I got to finally realize, okay, I'm watching this movie. I can kind of take everything in, because the first viewing was just this excitement that I had of watching the Batman
And fear, I think.
the fear.
Yeah.
But this time I really got to pay attention to what elements of the movie I knew were upcoming, and I really got to break it down. It's still a real gem for me. That's what I love about it.
It's even more of a real gem for me now.
The realest gem.
The realest of gems.
Yeah, the righteous gems.
The righteous gemstones, yeah. How did you feel watching it the second time, Anthony?
Oh, it's amazing to watch the second time because you can actually focus on what you're watching rather than just trying to anticipate. Usually when you watch a movie the first time, you're like, oh, what's going to happen next? What's happening? You just get caught up in
that
whole
anxiety
celebration of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the second time I was able to really focus on the story and understand where, that's, the Riddler and in the beginning, and he's watching from the mayor and all that, just little things like that. And just tying the story together, because a lot of times with detective style or crime style movies, you kind of get lost with certain parts of the plot. This time,
You try to become a detective yourself,
right?
While watching the
You're
movie.
just like, okay, this. Oh, I don't know. I don't get how he got to this point, or now I do get it. So
Right.
it's good. The more you watch it, the more it explains itself.
Yeah. You have the appreciation for it. You're just going in, you know what's going to happen, so you just kind of go for the ride.
Right.
Yeah.
So little things like that, I enjoyed the second time around. What about you, Daniel?
It was great, honestly. Like
The third time.
The third time. Let me tell you guys, when you get to the third time, that's when shit really pops off. No, the third time I found I was watching it. I was watching with my dad, and I was just noticing so many more things in the world that I didn't really see before. The first two times I watched it, I didn't realize how much of the drop heads, like the drug of the movie, was kind of referenced. Like there were billboards all over the city for it. Obviously, we had the character with the mask at the beginning, but we had them at the warehouse scene later with the penguin and everything too. They were all over this movie. So I think definitely going forward, whatever Gotham PD show we have or whatever Penguin show, they're going to be playing a big part of that because it was very established in this movie, and I wasn't expecting it to be, right. So that was really cool. Seeing, I think, all the videos that have been coming out now about like, oh, you missed this and you missed that, or now that you know where the Riddler's kind of been hiding in this movie, when you're seeing like the Iceberg Lounge, you see the light on in the Riddler's room. So if you're watching the Batman again, after the first time Batman leaves the Iceberg Lounge and it does like a wide shot of Gotham, you see like the train and everything like that. Look for the building that they find the Riddler in. You actually see the silhouette of him in his window. And that was something that I learned through like a new Rockstars video. So I'm excited to watch it again and look out for that scene, and just like everything was woven so beautifully together in this movie. And I think that's what I appreciated about it so much. Batman goes to the Iceberg Lounge 3 times in this movie. The first time is Batman, the second time is Bruce Wayne, and then the third time he just sneaks in. So like there's like these little moments that kind of build onto themselves, and there's these callbacks throughout the movie that I think that worked so well for me in this. And I think John Turturro, I think, is just so amazing in this movie. And he dies, and I'm like, fuck, I would have loved to see this guy in this world longer, but it gives me hope. Maybe if they do that Gotham PD show, because it's a prequel, maybe we'll see him as a big part of that show. Like I would love to see him in that, or if the Penguin, if there's flashbacks of him working with John Turturro and like they go kind of back and forth. Like he's such a great talent, and you don't really get to see him in roles like this. So seeing him as like that mob boss, Falcone, I love that. Like I thought he was such a standout in this movie.
I wish they did like the Falcone that we've seen. So the Falcone.
Sorry, whoa.
The Falcone.
Whoa.
The Falcone.
Guy-
The Falcone that we've seen in movies always is the bad guy. Like he's painted as the bad guy, but even in the comics, he's more of like the Vito Corleone. Like he's very necessary evil, but like he's not evil like he's portrayed in this movie.
Right.
So I wish we were able to see him, be that necessary evil, but not like I killed your mom. And like.
And maybe I killed your parents too, Bruce. We don't know.
I wish we saw more relationship between him and Selena, because I think she's still like she just gave up on the whole family thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish to see him again. I think he did a fantastic job as Mr. Falcone.
And it's Falcone, because in Batman Begins it was Falcone. Like they really
Falcone.
emphasized
they emphasized that last E on the name. So
you get so confused between Falcone and Maroni, and just like they're very similar characters. Yeah. It's like they're both mob bosses.
Yeah. Maroni, he's a fall guy. I'm the brains of the organization. That's a little Dark Knight reference for you.
Little Dark Knight reference. Yeah, it's such a great, like, his performance, I think, was by far just what I wanted to see from John Turturro. I think John Turturro can sometimes be seen as, the slapstick comedy guy, and I think the Transformers films really, painted him in that light. They made him such a joke. But when you see him in other things, like I think about the night before, the night after, the one with the Riz Ahmed, the HBO show. The night of. Sorry, night before, after. No, it was present. That night. It was that night. Present night. The night of. I think he was also so good in that. And then in this movie, he embodies that role so perfectly. Like, it is Oscar worthy, his performance.
He was such a star player in the show as a supporting cast, and I love that it takes a while to actually see him in person. And what this movie I think does so well is keeping us in that perspective of Bruce, is that Bruce even sees him through the contact lens on Selena. And it's not until like we see him at the funeral scene that we're actually seeing him in who he is, right? Because they do such a good job of making him like this big looming figure,
Right.
And even at the funeral, it's like, oh, the guy who's the only person who's more recluse in Gotham City than Falcone is Bruce, right? And I love that you saw that dynamic of them, and I love that we learn a bit about Bruce's past with like his dad Thomas, and the fact that Thomas Wayne saved Falcone because he was shot, and like I love that we just kind of see that Bruce's parents aren't like these morally clean characters that we've seen before. I have no doubt that they were great parents, but it's nice that they're not squeaky clean like we've seen them before, like they were in Batman Begins, where I love that, and I love that they were that beacon of goodness for Bruce, but I like that there was a dark side to that too, because that Bruce has to get that from somewhere, right?
But even like Bruce is not squeaky. Like, look how he deals with criminals, right? So it's Gotham brings out the worst in you, but you just controlling that worst and how you get to that point is really what sets you apart from being a villain or a hero in Gotham.
One thing that I think we didn't get to talk about in our review, obviously, because we were keeping it spoiler free. The opening to this movie is terrifying with the Riddler. It starts with his perspective of the goggles, and he's just like looking through the goggles. There's a lot of emphasis on eyes in this movie too, just the way the eyes are lit, shown, and then it cuts to the inside of the mayor's house with like the Riddler standing behind him, and it's not until he moves that you see it, and then when the TV light turns brighter, you see like the Riddler's eyes are like glowing. It's like really creepy, and then he just attacks him, right? And that kind of parallels what we see later with Bruce spying on Selina. Same, very similar type of shots where they're just kind of like back and forth looking.
A lot of voyeurism.
Exactly.
A lot of voyeurism.
A lot of voyeurism.
But one thing that when we learned this, and we knew about this, but we didn't know how much it was influenced, but the Zodiac Killer. And that is our true serial killer in San Francisco and California that, stalked people during the 70s and... Yeah, 70s and 80s.
Yeah, late 60s, 70s, yeah.
And just...
would taunt the police, taunt the media.
Yeah, and very similar, like, Matt Reeves based the Riddler off of that person, that character, using ciphers and taunting the
Even
cops.
the mask with the glasses. It looks exactly like the
Remember
Zodiac.
that scene in Zodiac where he's coming over the mountain and there's the two... The
two couples,
not the mountain, the hill,
the picnic.
There's
a
couple, and he's literally wearing a mask very similar.
Yeah, I rewatched the Zodiac before I saw Batman again.
Yeah,
and I had to fast forward that scene because I'm like,
I can't watch that scene.
It was such a nice day outside. I'm like, I don't want to watch the scene because it's so upsetting. It's so depressing.
There's so much about the Zodiac that just upsets you. And what I like about what Matt Reeves has done is he's taken a lot of elements from even Mindhunter. Really kind of delving into the psychology of these serial killers. And I know that we haven't really talked about it yet, but I'm going to bring it up right now because I brought up Mindhunter. There was a scene cut from the film.
There's a scene cut from
the film of Bruce going to meet with Barry Keoghan's unnamed Arkham prisoner.
Right. Well, we can say the name now.
No, I'm about to.
Yeah.
Joker.
I knew you were going to do it too. Joker.
I knew you wanted me to do it.
Yeah. Also, the pronunciation thing. Barry Keoghan.
Barry Keoghan.
Barry Keoghan is the pronunciation of the name, right?
B. Keoghan.
We've been calling him Barry Keoghan.
I'll call him Barry Bees.
Barry.
Yeah.
G is silent. We
G is silent. You and Anthony.
We found it on like a YouTube page of
people pronouncing names.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I literally typed it in.
It's called Silent G's.
Yeah.
It's a YouTube page.
Because
real G's.
It's like very like Saoirse Ronan.
Saoirse Ronan, yeah.
Yeah, you just didn't think that's how you pronounce it. So I, coming from an Irish background.
You?
Not me.
Him.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
You're Irish too?
I'm Irish
There's
Italian.
a lot of problems you have.
Barry Keoghan, is the Joker.
I think Barry Keoghan is the Joker. First of all, we all kind of knew going into it that that's kind of what it would be, and we were all excited that it happened. But there's a scene cut from the film where, Batman goes to meet the Joker.
Yes.
And it's very Mindhunter-esque. He goes to understand the psychology behind the Riddler. That scene is going to be released hopefully in the next coming weeks, maybe hopefully soon.
Or at least for the physical release or the Blu-ray.
Yeah, because Matt Reeves said he just wants to drop it soon once more people have seen the movie. So I'm excited for what that's going to look like because, man, that is It's gonna be a lot of fun. I think Barry Keoghan is such a great choice.
He is, and I think what's cool about the scene, is very Mindhunter, very just like
Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs, going to meet with the person to get into the mind of the serial killer. And it obviously shows that Batman has had a run-in with the Joker already in this world in some capacity, and either is responsible for him being in Arkham or knows of him being in Arkham, and that's why he wants to go and meet with him. I will say, it's not even a negative of this movie. This movie was such a high for me. This movie's such a 10 out of 10 throughout that you could have even removed the Joker scene and it still would have been a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were like, you know what, let's establish this world more, let's build. I think it's great. And I think what the scene does so well, which I think because we were so shocked that Joker's in it, or so excited that Joker's in it, it does give closure to the Riddler's kind of story in this film, because you get to see the Riddler see that his plans failed, right? And I like that he was upset and he was angry that his plans didn't go through the way he wanted them to go through. But even though the Riddler did win in this movie, when you think about it, like everything the Riddler did, he brought the shitty ass people in power out into the light. Falcone's dead, the mayor is dead, the police commissioner is dead. He blew up the barriers to the city, so the Gotham is flooded now. He was successful in his plan, but I think what he wasn't successful in is Batman is that symbol of hope for the city now. And I think Batman at the end of this movie realizes that. He even says, like, vengeance can't be my way. I have to give the people hope. Yeah. Right? Because when you see that guy on the bridge, the joke who was wearing the Riddler mask, that was the guy that he ran into at the funeral, right? Who said, "I'm vengeance to Batman." I think that was what Batman realized, like, I can't be vengeance anymore. I have to be something better, which is so cool. What a fucking good movie.
He could be vengeance when he
gets angry. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when he pummels that guy, the greatest thing about that scene is you can see everybody's fear. Like, this isn't Batman. Like,
no.
Even the way, Selena Kyle, Catwoman, reacts to him pummeling that guy is fear. It's general fear. And that's not what he wants to create. But having a Batman start off that way is such a beautiful way to start this redemption arc.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, another thing he didn't accomplish was Bruce. Like, getting Bruce. I think that was one thing that I think he really wanted. I think that was the end result, too. Bruce being killed or taken care of,
right?
But that whole like misdirection of, does the Riddler know who Bruce Wayne's alter ego is? But
here's the thing, though, he may still know.
He may know now
because he didn't get him. Like the bomb didn't get him; it got Alfred. So the fact that he didn't get Bruce could have also been his way of trying to smoke out. Oh shit! Bruce wasn't there. Batman wasn't there, which means that Bruce may also be Batman.
I think that scene is one of those scenes that we would study, like, over 100%. And over again. Like that confrontation between Batman and the Riddler was so masterful. The writing is so specific. The dialogue is so specific. The way the camera is showing each of them is so specific. Again, like you mentioned, Daniel, Batman and the Riddler really only ever meet with a barrier in between them.
The whole movie. They never meet face to face.
And it's not until the very last 45 minutes of this film do they actually ever really meet.
They meet, but it's still with a barrier between them.
Still with a barrier.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see where they're going to keep going with that character, because what we know is the Riddler's still alive. He's in that prison. Does he come back to meet him again? Does the Riddler escape? Like, how do you move forward?
Right.
We have 2 shows coming out that will be continuing to develop this universe forward. And we know, according to Matt Reeves right now, we're not moving towards the Joker yet. The Joker isn't this villain that's going to be popping up in the next film. This is something that we'll probably be seeing in the Gotham PD show as well.
Sure. And what I love about that scene, Shane, they mentioned that we will study it. That scene is so masterful because even before that, when Batman is at the crime scene with Gordon and everyone kind of looking at the evidence of the Riddler's apartment, Batman sees the sign on the door on the wall that says I see the real you, and Batman assumes that the Riddler knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, right? And as he's leaving, Batman's saying goodbye to Gordon like it's the last time he's going to see him as Batman, because he's saying like, you're a good cop, because he figures, shit, the Riddler knows who I am.
I'm going to be ousted.
I'm about to be ousted. I'm about to be taken down. And then when we go to the actual Arkham, it almost, the way it's shot makes it feel like by the end of that scene, it turns from the Riddler looking like he's in prison to Batman looking that he's trapped in, because Batman's like punching that window like he's the one who's trapped in there.
Right.
Like he's trying to get out.
Like he's trying to get out, and then he goes crazy to like to his next because right after that, that's when is that when Alfred's blown up, right? Or is that before?
No, that's before.
That's before.
That's before.
So Alfred has already been blown up at that point.
Yeah.
He I think he goes back to.
He was like, "What have you done?" And he leaves.
He leaves and he goes back to his apartment. And I think that's where he figures out that the Tucker tool can is used for carpets and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I really enjoyed that scene. I think Paul Dano, that whole sequence where he's like Bruce, and he keeps saying Bruce
Wayne.
Bruce Wayne, like Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Being there, he's like, shit, he knows who I am.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne. He's the only one we never got. Yeah. And
oh my God, what a turn.
And that's when he like, oh, you still don't know who I am.
Yeah, you dummy.
It's actually at that moment, right when he says that line, that you get a close up of Batman's eyes, and Batman looks down like, shit, I've been found, to looking up like, oh, thank God. Like there's like a sigh of relief just in the eyes.
Yeah.
Again, the eyes throughout this movie are just there's so many close-ups of eyes, so many close-ups of just, this movie takes its time. Again, it's almost 3 hours. Well, like what, it's 2:47. 2:55 minus about 7-8 minutes for credits, so 2:40. There's a lot of moments that this movie just takes a moment for looks, for just to focus on something, and I like that, because it's just more just being put in that moment, put into perspective of like, you are going for this ride, and you're not going to be let out until the very end of the movie.
The movie feels very like claustrophobic in the
Yeah.
sense
Yeah.
of like, you feel like you're in a box and you're looking through a peephole.
Yeah.
Through a rear view mirror, and that's how this movie is like taking place. You know, like it just feels like that.
It does, yeah.
It feels like you are
Very Hitchcockian in a way.
Yeah, you are the voyeur of this whole movie.
Yeah.
While there are voyeurism shots within, it's like you are now the voyeur. It's just felt really like
Claustrophobic for sure, and
tight.
and the fact that there's not a lot of locations in the film, right?
Yeah.
Other than like the Batmobile chase, which we'll talk about soon. You're kind of going through the same locations a lot. We're going to, obviously the Batcave. We're going to the Iceberg Lounge, 44 Below, and then Gotham PD.
Where the light is.
Gotham City.
The construction building.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you brought up when we were leaving the movie the second time was, the movie really only takes place around a single block almost at certain points. Like I didn't expect us to go back to the Iceberg Lounge that many times.
No, but I was excited because we never get to see the Iceberg Lounge, right? We never saw that in any other
100%.
movies. And the fact that we did, it's like, it's so cool seeing that. And I like the fact that it takes place over the same kind of, over only just a few blocks, because when you're looking at these serial killer cases or anything like that, cold case files, so oftentimes the person who's committing these crimes isn't far away from what they're looking at. There's a pattern. There's this person is right under your nose the whole time. Where we're looking at the Rada Alada, it's like that was a riddle that I think people weren't getting. The fact that I've seen a lot of people online kind of complain like, oh, it took them so long to figure out who it was. I'm like, yeah, but the point wasn't that it was Batman or if it was Penguin. The point was that there were so many different suspects that it could be, right? And it's like nobody expected it to be Falcone.
Yep.
Right?
It's also a learning opportunity for this is his second year.
Yeah.
So maybe in the future, or this version of Batman would search his surroundings.
Yeah.
Next time, now that he knows.
Yeah. Or look at see the rattle phonetically, like URL.
Yeah. He didn't go to what I'm saying? Like,
detective school.
He's still like a young dude.
Yeah.
Who experienced a lot of things, and we listened to the audiobook and how he jumped from one school to another, and he learned the best of that, and then he moved on. So this Bruce Wayne still needs to become a detective. He wasn't the greatest detective in the world.
No, it was a detective movie, but he makes mistakes.
He makes mistakes.
And I think that's what's interesting about criticism that we've seen for the movie. And again, criticism, that's all subjective. What works for you could not work for other people. But when you criticize a plot point in the sense of a character not doing something, I'm like, no, that's your interpretation. That's just the failures of that character. That's not a failure in the writing. That character was written to do that. You can't fault the way a character is written, because that's like just like faulting yourself for something that you've done that's stupid, right?
Yeah.
You're just watching something that's supposed to be in this world, and characters can make mistakes in movies. That's not a plot error, or that's not like a plot hole.
Yeah.
That's just a character making a mistake. You know what I mean?
fine.
And that's what you have to grow from.
Yeah.
The Riddler chase sequence in this film. Sorry, the penguin chase sequence.
There's a Riddler chase
Yeah,
sequence?
we don't chase the Riddler. We chase the penguin in this movie.
Let's talk about that sequence, because that sequence, what's funny about that sequence is the way we're introduced to Batman at the beginning of the film is we constantly have different points of views of different characters looking out into the shadows to see what could potentially be the Batman.
Yes,
right?
that's literally where I was going to go at the beginning of this, and
Yeah.
then we just got sidetracked because this movie is so good.
Right?
Yeah.
The Batmobile sequence is the same thing.
Similar.
It is the same thing. It's exactly similar. Whereas we're just seeing all those penguin henchmen just kind of look into the shadow, and then the car just turns on, just like how Batman would appear. And I think that's so great about that sequence is it kicks off. You have Catwoman on her motorcycle. She takes the money, gets out of there, and then in IMAX especially, you felt the weight of this car. You felt how heavy it was.
Our seats were buzzing.
They were. I felt like I was on D-Box.
Yeah.
It was nuts. It was the way the car was moving through, plowing through things. The way that one truck with the car one with has a ramp on it, the way it just kind of happens to fold right in front of it.
Oh, yeah, the stunt jump?
The stunt jump.
The GTA stunt jump.
It was great. I thought, man, this is how you do a chase sequence. My only, and again, we talked about this in our review, was it's not even a gripe. It's just more of like a want. And it's like, man, what if we got more scenes of the Batmobile?
Yeah.
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It was used, I think, literally exactly what this story needed.
Correct.
We see Batman pull up with it to the bat signal later on, and he's like, it's like, I love how chill him and Gordon are in this movie. I think they're the most chill that we've ever seen Batman and Gordon, because Gordon keeps calling him, hey man, like he's just man the whole movie.
Man.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah man, like they're just so chill with one another.
Buddies.
But yeah, he pulls up in the Batmobile, and then the scene when that's turning on and the lights are going off, it is horrifying, but it's so cool. Like that thing looks like it's like, it reminded me a lot. And I saw somebody actually tweet this too. It reminded me a lot of like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre when you hear the chainsaw go off.
Right.
It's like that same feeling of like, oh my God, like what is about to happen right now? And I love that he kind of like, he goes a little bit and then he just peels out and it turns into an amazing chase.
I think like even the shot or where the cameras were placed on those cars, so unique. And we talked about it in the review, probably the most challenging thing to shoot because you're shooting in the rain.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of this scene is CG.
Not a lot from what Colin Farrell said, because someone else was on top of the Batmobile driving it.
Oh, okay.
So someone else was actually driving the car, and they actually did throw it through the flames. That is a real shot. Like that is not a CG shot. It could maybe be touched up afterwards.
Yeah.
But they said they jumped this car through fire.
Right.
In this chase.
I believe that.
But yeah, the uniqueness of where the cameras were placed, especially over the wheel well, and just how it was just cut together. I wish this movie used IMAX cameras. I know they use just RE-Alexas and Alexa Minis, which makes sense on certain parts of the car. But like, I would have loved to see this in an IMAX. I think that's a tool Matt Reeves might use, and hopefully he'll embrace it in the future, because a lot of these
shot behind the car, right? Like if it opened up,
like just the whole, because you feel like you're watching this chase sequence, but you don't see the grandness of this chase sequence. It's very close. Like again,
it's very close
tight,
quarters.
it's very, like,
for
you're
sure.
looking through a rear view mirror and you're seeing it. So just opening it up a bit more, I think it would add like just make it bigger. Because I think IMAX cameras in that sense, especially because it's not a closed indoor shot, it's an outdoor shot, could be utilized to encompass like how grand this chase is going to be.
right?
And it takes place on a highway, so it's all open, it's all big, it's all wide, it's all tall and high.
Yeah, and I think we're so used to with the Nolan films, where the Nolan films are shot with IMAX. The Nolan films look very large, and they're shot with seeing everything like that. So this one felt very intimate.
Yeah.
Like it's Batman and it's the Penguin. That's what's chasing them, and the highways in between them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're saying, like this felt very close quarters, and I think it works for this movie. But in a sequel, I would love to see more of this Batmobile. I would love to see more of some more kind of action shots or just more traditional, like this is a big movie. I was curious. I'm like, they didn't shoot this movie on film. So I was reading today that they confirmed the Matt Reeves confirmed to The Ringer that the filmic 70s look for the Batman was achieved by writing the finished digital image through film, then scanning it back into the system.
Yeah.
And then they used like a bleach bypass where it was also used in the process, right? And we've seen this before with other films.
Cheaper, I guess, and instead of using film and like going through rolls and rolls, if you already have the finished product, put it through film. And then
do whatever you want to it.
It's just a smart way of doing it because you achieve a very similar look, if not the same look in a way.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I think people get very caught up, and you have the traditionalists like Nolan or Tarantino that are like, yes, this has to be done in film. And I'm glad that they're there pushing that forward. But I also like that, it's also not practical. Like, let's be real. Shooting on film is not a practical thing to do nowadays, right? So you could get more coverage. You could get more angles by doing whatever you want, and then use film after the process, right?
But I think the look of film still can't be achieved digitally yet. And we know there's a bunch of programs that you can use to add like a Fujifilm look to it.
Yeah, or the
video,
grain,
right?
put the
like
grain
a
and all
certain
that.
Grain and all that. But I think what they did in this one, and it seems like it would be more cost efficient, is to like shoot it, edit it, put it on film, and then bring it back in to get that look. Film is expensive. It's always going to be expensive. It's always going to be.
This is hard to get.
But like too. That look, like it felt like a 90s. It felt like a 1998, 99 film. Like it just gave you that look. And I think that period between 95 and 99 was a pivotal time for films to have like that grainy. Cinematic
like
look,
this is a 90s
Matrix,
movie.
Just a 7 look,
Even like Independence Day has it too, right? Like they have a look to it.
So you can't achieve because everything looks so polished now. Like you look at Marvel films, they're just
clean.
Yeah, they're really clean.
I don't want to say it, but they don't give you that cinematic look.
It's a different visual fidelity to it, right? Where Marvel films are big and bold and bright and beautiful and clean looking, where this is the first superhero film that I would say since maybe like this movie feels more in line with Dune or Mad Max Fury Road or Blade Runner. I got a lot of Blade Runner vibes watching this movie, where you're just feeling like this is a big kind of grand opus of a film that just like you're in it and you're lost in this world.
The word film, you hear it and you're like, this is what I see.
You're in this world.
It again, it's still a very HD film in the sense that it's clear to see what's happening at certain points. But you're right, it doesn't have that almost that computer generated looking HD effect that sometimes can appear. And hey, for some movies that works really well. For movies like this, I'm glad they didn't go down that road because it really helped you kind of feel very encompassed within the dark necessities this film kind of has.
And we see that too with Greg Fraser is a DP on this film, also did Star Wars Rogue One. He is responsible for The Mandalorian, the way The Mandalorian looks and shooting on that volume, where they're actually shooting on LED screens instead of green screen. Like that's so cool. And I think that's the future where you could actually have these backgrounds there and have the natural lighting on the characters. And it doesn't stand out. Shay, you just watched, I was showing you the Twilight series.
Yes.
And it's just so funny seeing, again, those movies were 10 years ago, how unnatural so many of the green screen shots looked because it doesn't look like these characters were lit to be in the backgrounds that they were in. And that's not exclusive to Twilight. No. I'm just saying that mostly because it's the most recent films that we saw and we noticed.
100%. And I think that's a great point that you bring up because one of the things that I think, as an actor might be very difficult is shooting on a green screen because you have no idea what the hell you're looking at. And to shoot it on in a way where you can still create that atmosphere must help a lot with how the actors can now convey their emotions and proceed to the next scene because you can actually see what is going to be in the movie.
Right. You're looking at what you're looking at.
And Nolan, I think, did a great job with that also. In Interstellar, he was able to create space by just projecting it and then shooting it. And it's so smart to do it that way. And I don't know if it's more expensive than green screen. I would assume it is probably.
Shooting on the volume?
Yeah.
I don't know, actually.
I don't know. But it does produce a much better film. Not only in the performances, but also how it visually looks.
It does. Because it looks like it is there in the scene with you.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's so cool. Zoe Kravitz is somebody that we spoke about in our review. We really loved her performance. we get it revealed in this film that she is the daughter of Carmine Falcone, which we know from the comic books that is something that's happened in the comic books too. What did you guys feel about her arc in this entire film? Because she gets a lot of great moments in this movie.
Wow.
Yeah, she's really good. She doesn't seem like she's, again, like Matt Reeves says, she's not Catwoman yet. You know, we're not the Catwoman we know, and I mentioned this in my review, how confident she is and like how cocky she is. Like no matter what she's in, she'll always get out of.
Or that vixen kind of.
Yeah, this Catwoman's like, I don't know what to do. Like she's always like she has a little anxiety showing. Yeah. In the sense of
vulnerability in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially because her friend was missing, right? And
right. Like Catwoman wouldn't care at that point. I mean, this is maybe the Catwoman I was brought up. She wouldn't have friends. Yeah. She would just, her friends are disposable.
Right.
So it's a different type of Catwoman.
Yeah. It reminds me of Year One because she also has that friend in Batman Year One where she's very protective over, and she fought Batman as well too in Year One, or was it the cops that she fought in?
I think it was the cops.
Yeah.
Wasn't she a lady of the night?
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
So like, this whole movie is like a movie of the night.
Movie of the night.
But she's not sure with what she's about to do. She's like, are you sure these lenses are gonna work? Like little things like that. And she's also like going back to Bruce saying, are you still there? Are you I don't want to make her that character. I hope she grows into being herself.
Yeah. But I never found her weak though, because she also did capture Kenzie. Was it Kenzie? Yeah, it was the cop Kenzie she captured.
And I think
beat the shit out of him.
She started to grow into what she will eventually become.
Yeah.
Yes.
This movie does a lot of this is what they'll eventually become, but they're not there yet.
Yeah.
Like show those glimpses, right?
Like Joker's not Joker.
No. The Riddler.
His name is Riddler.
No. And I like
Riddle.
that. This is He's Rid.
He's ridiculous.
He's Riddy. Lil Riddy.
Riddy.
He's just like, and I like that. This is Year Two, and I think, we're guilty of it. A lot of other people are guilty of it too. It's like that we go into these movies wanting to see.
We stack them up against other films.
Yeah,
already.
we stack them up against, well, how is this compared to The Dark Knight?
Yeah.
Or this version of the character? Or the MCU? And it's like, well, you can't judge this yet because this is the first movie. You can't judge... if we're looking at the first Iron Man film, we're not going to judge like, well, did Thanos show up or did this show up? Because no, because you're building towards all this, right?
You can't critique a movie because it wasn't what you wanted it to be.
Right.
I think that's usually the baseline of everything. You got to critique what you're seeing,
right?
And take your emotions, your personal stuff out of the way here. And does this Batman achieve what Matt Reeves set out to do? Yes, 100%. You can be like, but there weren't enough jokes in the movie. First of all, there were jokes.
There was a lot of, especially watching it like the second and third time, like there's a lot of moments where I was just like, oh, that's funny. That's good.
And it matches the scene's mood and tension. But being like, oh, it's too dark. Well, yeah, that's the point of the film.
Yeah.
You can't critique that. You can't fault the movie for being too dark because that's the point of the movie. If the movie said, oh, we're trying to be fun and happy, but the whole time it's dreary, okay, cool. Yeah, then sure, make that case.
But no, Batman is like, you read a Batman comic, it's not funny.
He's always juggling in the comics that I read.
He's not a comic relief. It's not like Spider-Man, who is a comic relief.
Or he's not like a snarky character, right? Like,
no, they have to, you got to like eliminate this whole, like, you have to be happy. It has to be, you got to add jokes to lighten it up. This is a character that lives in a city that's consistently filled with criminals. Yeah.
People are being killed for a serial killer.
There is a lot of killing. Yeah. Like a lot of people dying.
You have to let that go. You have to and we know that this version of the Batman did a really good job of juggling everything. And adding the jokes. I think Penguin was the comic relief in this sense. Yeah. And he will be in the future. Like, he's going to be that character.
Yeah, Gordon too. Like, Gordon too had some good lines in this movie too. Like, when they're at the Wayne Manor and Gordon pulls out the gun and Batman's like, no guns. And he's like, yeah, that's your thing, man. Like, I love that. Like, that was just so well used. Like, it's humor being used naturally. Like, there's just, like, that's just naturally funny. That's not a joke. That's just him saying it is funny.
But getting back to the Catwoman, I think the tension between the two was fantastic.
Oh, dude, I was sweating.
A lot of tension between them. And it's just funny. I want to see where this goes. I don't know if she'll be in the second one or third one. I don't know where the story...
I hope she comes back.
But
I think she'll come back.
The tension between... The chemistry between the two, Robert and Zoe is fantastic.
Yeah, they're both just very good looking people.
Yeah.
So seeing them together, it's like, damn, like they were great. They were great. Something we mentioned, I think I mentioned in the review, is that we all spoke about it. Like, there's not a lot of Bruce Wayne in this movie in the sense of he's in 3 scenes and they're short scenes. We have Bruce Wayne in the beginning after like the intro. He's, at the breakfast table with Alfred. We have Bruce Wayne at the hospital, and then we have Bruce Wayne going to the funeral, and then the Iceberg Lounge. So 4 scenes with Bruce Wayne, right?
Yeah, but even that sequence is like they're so short.
They're very short sequences, right? So it's like, but when you see Batman in costume in this movie, it never felt weird.
No.
Like, it never felt like this is a guy in a costume.
Sense.
I literally saw him. I'm like, oh, Batman. That's just, you just accept that Batman is a character and that's what Batman looks like. And I think that's such an achievement in a movie that it never felt like this is a guy in a suit. Like, no, I'm looking at Batman.
And that suit, man.
I love that suit. I love that
it's so practical too. Like when he pulls off the logo and he uses it to cut things and
the symbol.
The
cut,
logo, the symbol. He pulls it out and it's a knife. Yeah, sure, makes sense. Totally. Yeah, it's a batarang. It's a whatever you want to call it. It's perfect. Like that makes sense.
I also love that because this is year 2 Batman. His cape, he's not using it to glide.
Yeah,
he's just using it like it's like also a parachute in a sense that. I love that scene where when he's escaping Gotham PD and he gets to the top of the statue. He's like, like he gets scared.
There's fear
that he's like so high up, and then he turns into like a squirrel suit.
Yeah, no more squirrel suits.
No more squirrel suit in the sequel.
Get that out of the way.
Make it like I want to see this Batman glide around.
Yeah,
glide uses
grapple in the sky. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
One thing I really liked that they did in the beginning and just establishing the character, and just telling his story, and then after that scene where he battles the thugs and all that, he writes everything down in a journal.
Yeah.
And like almost like a case study of Gotham. And I think that's very Batman. You don't really see
like his dad, the doctor, like those, and he writes it in like in a book that reminded me like this is like what a doctor would do with the case notes. Right?
Yeah, like 100%. And he's keeping record because I think everything he does, he wants to do better. And there's a reason why he's dressing up as a bat, right?
Yeah.
He just doesn't want to fight criminals. He needs to understand them.
Yeah.
He needs to understand the city. So little things like that, where he's writing these case studies about his city, it's very Batman. It's very Bruce Wayne. And I think we're so used to seeing Bruce Wayne just billionaire playboy. He's not narcissistic that way, where he would write a whole journal, page after page after page of every night he goes out. But Batman would. Like, that's the Batman I want to see.
Yeah,
and I love how analog his equipment felt too.
Yes,
felt like he just
also still modern,
still futuristic. Yeah, like the eye lens thing I thought was really cool.
The fact that he had to tune the signal to make sure he's getting the right frequency.
It was just so cool, and I like that it almost has like the red in the city, like it's throughout all like the color grading, and also like in literally the lens when he's looking at things, it's like has this red hue to it.
Yeah.
You were mentioning Batman writing in the books. Like it's a case study. The Riddler, all of Riddler's books, he also wrote. But what's interesting, one nice little detail that again saw from the new Rockstars video, is that because he's an accountant, all the notebooks are on ledgers. Like they're actual. Yeah. They're not just like notebooks; they're like ledger lines and everything like that too, which I thought was a cool detail.
I love that they were both writing to kind of like show how similar both characters
are.
Like it's so crazy that the Riddler's like, yeah, no, we're in this together. We're part of this, and it's like. Yeah, you really are. You really are. You guys are really a part of this together.
The Riddler turns out like the big twist in this movie, I would say, is that the Riddler's
son
is that the Riddler thinks that the Batman is like working with him. He has like this belief that like the Riddler isn't. He says like I'm not physical. I could think of these things and. But you're the one who got it done. Like you brought the rat into the light. You brought this out. Like this is because of both of us. And Man's like, no, man. Yeah. No, I'm not working with you.
Man's like, no, man. Yeah,
no, man. Yeah, he's just not, man.
You know what the funny part is? He is, because
he is.
The character of Batman brings out these people, right?
He became the Riddler because of the Batman. He put in that mask because Batman had a mask.
Yeah. Right. And that's where it all, like, that's where the rogue gallery comes out of. Like, without, Batman didn't put anything on.
No.
There would just be the mob, the crime bosses.
Yeah, just a regular crime,
and people doing their stuff.
But now they're elevating the crime.
Yeah.
We got this Joker that might show up in the next one. We have the Riddler doing things that that city hasn't seen before.
That's literally the ending scene of Batman Begins, where Gordon is talking to Batman on the rooftop, and he's like, "You really started something," and it's like that whole idea of escalation. Like we buy like Kevlar vests, they start buying Kevlar piercing rounds.
Yeah.
Like there's like that escalation that no matter what you do, things are always going to continue to rise. Things are going to always rise to the top and just keep going and going and going.
There's that line from Captain America: Civil War where Vision's talking about our very nature attracts these people, and then we incite and we invite them to kind of fight against us because it's like a pissing contest half the time.
It really is,
right? Like the villains want to be infamous. Whereas Batman doesn't want to be anything.
No, he just and I think by the end of this film, I love again he uses his Batman batarang in his chest. What again? I can't believe the visuals of it of the stadium filling with water looked beautiful. By the way,
in the trailer we had no idea what that sequence was.
No,
I was cave.
I was literally like stunned of just visually how it looked. Like you have like this thing being destroyed by flooding water, and then you have that hanging line of electricity, and Batman's like, I gotta go do Batman stuff.
Gotta chop it.
And he literally jumps on it, takes his bat symbol out, and just cuts it, and he electrocutes himself, and then he pulls out the red flare, and he literally becomes the Bat's true calling. Like literally, like that is him becoming Batman, being the symbol of hope. In that scene. You mentioned the earlier the injection that he took.
The steroids?
The steroids, like the adrenaline shot.
Yeah.
The venom, the Bane venom.
The Bane venom. I called it Mountain Dew.
I mean, there was a Mountain Dew tie-in for this movie too, right?
Yeah.
So like, he just injects himself with the Mountain Dew, and then he beats the shit out of one of the Riddler goons.
Yeah, the guy was undercover too. He was just like, I didn't want to be about
I'm not
this.
here, please.
No, that was such a great sequence. He turns full Popeye there, takes his spinach and goes to town.
Really creepy too, like because the Riddler felt like such a terrorist from today, like just someone that would be on like kind of the dark areas of the web and creating a following,
school shooter kind of look,
shooting vibe for sure. And like the fact when you see like people talking on the message board, like don't forget to bring your cling wrap, and like because you saw like they had the cling wrap because they didn't want to leave DNA behind at the scenes. It's like that's so unsettling, and like all of the Riddler's videos in this are just so creepy and scary and very real world.
And there's a moment where they say, oh, he's got like 500 followers, and I think what's a lot of people, I saw people tweeting like, that's not that many followers. On the internet, normal internet, it's not, but on the dark web,
on the
500 followers
on the whatever shooter website that he's
Shooter.com?
on, like dark shooter.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of
followers.
500 followers,
because those are dedicated people.
Those are dedicated, and there's no proof that's also only in Gotham. They could be around the world. But that's a lot of people that are watching and being a part of this, and I loved how real it felt. I'm also glad that there was this human side to the Riddler, and whose name we don't really get in the film.
We knew it was like from the prequel book. It said it was Edward Nashton,
right?
But in the movie, we see an ID that says Edward Nashton, and we see one that says something
Parker something.
Yeah,
which were aliases of Enigma, but I think they chose Nashton because the book says they chronicle him as a kid and they call him Nashton.
Yeah. So it's nice to see that he also had this human side, like when he's like, "Hey guys, welcome to my channel." Like, I know it sounds silly, but
don't forget to like and subscribe. But also, I love the movie podcast.
big fans of the movie podcast.
Yeah.
I know it seemed silly when we watched it, but at the same time, like it's sillier when in movies the villain is like on all the time.
Yeah, or super evil. Like this. Like you have to think like. And I'm not saying this, I'm like saying this in general, like you have to think that this is a guy who was ostracized from life.
Yep.
He was never popular, was never had friends like that. He's awkward. Like he's going to be awkward in his videos, and like he's not like a showman that way. What he does is with his mind and the acts that he pulls. He's not a showman that way, right? So like I loved the Riddler in this film, and I think that his Paul Dano's performance. Again, I'm not comparing it with anyone else, any other like high profile Batman actors or Batman villains that we've seen, but I just mean like I think he's up there, and I think the Riddler's plans in this film are up there with any other comic book villain who I think is just really well thought out plan.
It's okay to say he was better than Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very true.
Where do you guys want to go from here? There's so many things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about this movie for a long time, I know. But where do you think things go from here in this world? Like, what villains do you think we're going to see? We know there's a lot of groundwork. We know there's spin-offs. Like, where do you think things could go in a sequel?
Well, I think they have a new DA spot open. So we know the DA's head blown the fuck off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so that opens it up for
Mr. Harvey Dent.
Mr. Two-Face. He can now become that character, and he can become Mr. Two-Face at the end of it or halfway through it. That's I don't think the Joker is there yet, and I don't think Matt Reeves, he said it like, yes, that is the Joker, but he's not the Joker that we know.
Yeah.
He has like a disease that makes him smile all the time. But I don't know if we'll be using him in the next
and
movie.
I like that.
Or maybe he'll be there in the next movie, but not like...
Maybe we'll see him in the shows first.
Yeah. Like, establish this character, and then, listen, we have a world with Batman and Joker in it already now.
We have so many villains that we've already seen.
Yeah.
Like, let's try some new ones. I think there was a nice little Hugo Strange nod they did in this film with one of the cards kind of looked like Hugo Strange on the cover of it.
Yeah.
The chemistry one.
Yeah.
So imagine if Hugo Strange is kind of like here, just kind of pulling some strings as well.
Yeah.
I see that.
Hugo could be running the asylum, right? He could have made the choice to put Riddler right next to Joker.
Easy.
You know what I mean? Because, like, of all the places in Arkham Hospital and Arkham Asylum, why did they end up beside one another, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe there's a grander plan there. I think there could be a grander plan.
The Court of Owls would be great because they mention... mention and they really talk about the families of Gotham and Arkham, and that's a big part of the Court of Owls.
Yeah.
Being these owl dead people. They're kind of dead, but they're not dead.
Yeah.
Like, they are dead. Like, their assassins are dead.
Like Talon and stuff like that?
Yeah, like they're like
dead.
Yeah, they're because they have superhuman strength. So I don't know what, I keep forgetting how they become.
But just having like the secret society of Gotham, 100%. We know that like this world has established that could be 100% a thing.
Definitely can happen.
I saw someone on Twitter yesterday post a picture about an actor that could play Harvey Dent, and I saw it was John Bernthal, and I'm like, there's nothing I want more now than John Bernthal to play Harvey Dent in the sequel.
He would be so good as Harvey Dent. He'd be so good in anything. You could make him a bat, and it's fine. Like,
He play a Man Bat.
He would Man Bat.
I'm Man Bat.
You could Catwoman. I don't care, man.
Yeah.
Put Johnny Bernthal on anything.
Yeah, it's always a secret sauce. He's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shay, how about yourself? Who would you want to see in the sequel?
Oh man. I think Court of Owls would be a great place to go. Maybe even like get some of the newer villains like Hush out there. Do you think we see
We got to Hush tease a little bit, right?
Yeah, but do you think we see a Robin in this world?
Yes. Kept staring at that kid a lot.
That kid with the half face?
The mayor's
little
kid.
kitty.
The mayor's kid, yeah.
He kept like, and
Well, I think he saw himself in him, right?
Yes, but he also, I felt like
He probably thought, yeah, I can make you a fighter.
Yeah,
I can make you.
I'll be a
you're
daddy.
also an orphan.
Yeah.
Like Robin's an orphan.
I think it was him for. I think
he's not an orphan yet, so maybe his mom will die.
Maybe Batman kills the mom. Batman kills the mom and says, "Listen,
now
I killed your mom. Now you got."
That's a twist in this
I
one.
own you. You're my Robin.
But I definitely think there is some foreshadowing there of him just seeing that kid as like obviously seeing himself in that kid, but some foreshadowing to maybe in the future that we'll see a kid working with the Batman. In
I think we can also see I think what was really cool about the Nolan verse was he was able to take those characters that a little bit more outlandish like Bane, but still make him realistic. I know Clayface really isn't a realistic character, but you can take elements of it. Just maybe someone who's consistently into prosthetics. Maybe what if that's
Throws
the
mud
kind of
at you.
character?
Are you saying Mike Marino's going to be the villain?
Mike Marino he's just hard at work on the next one now, making like 600 prosthetic.
I was saying Mike Marino's the villain of the next one.
Or he's the villain, sorry? Yeah, he's the... Damn.
Mike Marino's going to show up as the villain in the next one.
Yeah, he could.
What if it's like...
But isn't it like the chameleon who could who makes masks and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I guess, yeah.
But we haven't seen him yet, even though he was
What
just
if
cast, right?
this Clayface is like he makes clay pies and he throws them at Batman?
Eat clay, bats.
or you know who'd be really good? Pig.
Oh my God, Professor Pig.
Yeah.
God, that was scariest missions in Arkham.
You can definitely see that type of character.
But But do they want to go another serial killer route?
That's too much, yeah. But I think it's a like side character. Like
I think they have to go like some sort of killer. Like
Yeah.
they have to continue a detective story.
Yeah. I mean,
They can't just make this a detective and then the next one is going to be
Yeah.
like this blockbuster
Yeah.
super explosion.
Big
no,
action
you
fast.
can't do it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But it has to continue.
It has to be grounded story.
Yeah, I would take like 7 more of these detective stories, honestly.
100%.
But I could almost see the opening of the next film, the opening of the Batman 2 or whatever they call it.
Duh.
Ra's al Ghul can come back.
Yeah, we could, but I almost see it like it starts with like, you know, Batman taking down a situation, like infiltrating a building, and it's like Pig, and like the movie just starts because like they're not going to use Pig as the main villain,
No, but
it can start with him taking him down, and like, oh, we established that Pig was in this
and
world.
that leads to whatever.
What leads to the
crime
next
is.
case. Right.
I think what I want to see though for the next one is all the other Batman to come back too. Like I want this to be like the multiverse, like
Damn.
the Batman No Way Home.
No Way Home, eh?
You know, Val Kilmer's
Batman-verse.
there, George Clooney's there.
Listen, man, we're getting that in the Flash this year.
That's
like we
true.
don't know who else is going to show up if they're going to find a way to
But I want to
convince
do it
Bale.
for this one. I think Matt Reeves would do such a good
Yeah, in the second movie.
Yeah, for the second film.
Yeah.
And then just he leaves at that point.
Oh my God, I'm just so in love with this movie.
I'm in love with it.
And I love Spider-Man No Way Home, and I love it in different ways.
We got 2 great comic book films.
And it's always
row.
funny. It's always Spider-Man and Batman that I feel like are the ones kind of pushing the
industry forward.
industry forward, or like the people will always kind of go back to those two. And it was like with the Raimi films and with the Nolan films, and now here we are with like the John Watts Spider-Man and then the Matt Reeves Batman.
Can I give you? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, please.
Can I give you guys some stats on how this Batman movie did?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you.
So box office. So this movie grabbed about 128.5 million domestically.
Hell yeah, great
It's
opening
weekend. And this is coming from Eric Davis of Fandango. It's the biggest opening of 2022 so far. 5th biggest opening for a DC Comics movie. 3rd biggest for a DCEU film, and 3rd for a solo Batman movie.
Do you guys see this movie crossing $1 billion?
No,
Really?
I'm afraid it won't.
Okay.
The reason why is I wanted to, but the reason why is I think that there be the fans that love to go see it, but there are people that might be thinking, oh, it's too long. Oh, it's another DC film. Oh, it's Robert Pattinson. So I feel like there's still those people out there. Like there are a lot of people, my friends who haven't gone to see it yet either. That I'm like, what are you waiting for? Go see it. Like
Yeah.
go. Like what is taking so long? Like this should have been opening weekend.
Well, here's the thing. I think this movie has the benefit, like we've said before on the show, that March is pretty much, it owns March.
Empty.
I think it's going to consistently be #1 all of March.
I hope so.
And then April we have Sonic and Crimes of Grindelwald. Sorry, Dumbledore's Secret. What's it called?
I don't know. Dumbledore.
The Secret of Dumbledore.
Flight of Dumbledore.
Albus has got a secret.
That sounds like an episode name.
I was going to say it's like a 2000s like comedy. Albus has got a secret.
Albus has got a secret.
Starring
What's it
Tom
today?
Green.
Yeah, Tom Green.
Yeah.
Go on.
But yeah, I don't know what I was saying. What was I saying?
Oh
yeah, box office. Yeah, I think it's going to do well. I think
it will do well.
I think it's
It is
going to
doing well.
I think it's going to finish off in the $800 range. $800 million range.
Right. It's gonna make that's from us only.
Yeah.
It's gonna make
$800 million range. So it's going to do better than Justice League.
Yep.
It's going to do better than I think Batman vs Superman did, which did around 800 million or maybe 700 million.
Yeah. I think it's 800 million.
800 million. I think it's going to finish in the $700 to $800 million range, which will be a huge success.
If Warner Brothers continues to market this movie, it'll probably hit $1 billion. Like if they really continue.
I wanted to. But
I would love to see it hit
I'm
$1
afraid
billion.
it won't.
Well,
I'm
let's
realistic
keep it out
with
there.
800 million.
When does it show up on HBO Max?
45 days.
45 days from now.
So they have 45 days for that bat to hit $1 billion.
Yeah. For that bat to hit $1 billion.
Globally, this film has done 248.5 million, and that.
Oh, is that what?
So it's at $250 million already.
Were we saying domestically $1 billion?
Yeah.
Or worldwide $1 billion?
Worldwide $1 billion.
Worldwide $1 billion.
I was worldwide.
Yeah,
Yeah,
worldwide.
always worldwide $1 billion.
Always
yeah.
worldwide $1 billion because it's really hard.
Because it's rare to hit $1 billion domestically.
Like
And
Spider-Man.
what did it
hasn't hit
open up
domestically
in
yet.
China?
I don't think it's open in China yet.
Okay, so
in a couple weeks we'll be China.
Yeah.
This is in the top 50 of the biggest global openings ever. So at 50, it's Joker with 247. Then it's the Batman, and then right above the Batman, by just only about 300 million, is actually just the Dark Knight Rises.
300 million?
Yeah. Sorry, 300 million.
Jesus. Like, dude, that's a big difference at 300 million.
3 million, yeah. So 248.8 million was the Dark Knight Rises, and the Batman did about 248.5 million. So,
wow.
yeah. It's up there, man. It's doing great. It's got great numbers, good legs, good wings.
Good wings, as we say in the business. Yeah. It's got good wings.
Good wings.
Got good wings.
I don't like how you keep saying
You got good wings, kid. Keep flying. That's what we say.
I don't like any of this.
Any final thoughts on the Batman? I know this was a bit of a different type of spoiler discussion. It wasn't really. We didn't go beat by beat. We just kind of went. There's probably so many moments that we're like we haven't
missed
spoken
out,
about,
and that's okay.
You know, and I think that just goes to show our excitement for it. And maybe we'll do a spoiler cast part 2 one day on this film. When it comes out, we'll do a commentary.
Once we have it in our hands.
We should totally do a commentary.
We should totally do a commentary.
We really didn't talk about Alfred, but like Alfred wasn't.
He wasn't actually in the movie that much.
No, and I think a lot of people wanted to see that because they felt that
we got a lot of Alfred in movies.
Great actor, but like. But he can come next.
But I also think it's
still
not
alive.
It's not about Alfred, right? Like we got a lot of Alfred in Batman vs Superman. We got a good amount of Alfred in Justice League. We got Alfred with Michael Caine in all of the Nolan films, a lot. So it's like it's nice that this movie had almost every scene Batman in it, or Bruce Wayne, like throughout the whole movie.
Yeah,
and I would love to see that again.
I don't have anything else to say about this film.
We're just go watch it again. We're gonna go watch it again.
I would say go watch it again and watch it again.
I knew you love this movie, Anthony, specifically because when you're in movies, you're usually like hood on to yourself.
He looks like he's like the Batman walking through the iceberg.
You know what I mean? But there were moments in this film that you were tapping me on the leg with and you looked at me with a big smile on your face.
Yeah, this movie
second time
was made for my taste.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like I knew when you were excited about it, I'm like, damn, Anthony really loved this movie.
Yeah, I looked over and I literally saw him smiling, and I'm like, what's that thing he's doing with his face?
That's a weird expression. I've never seen that before from him.
I'm smiling.
Yeah, I'm like, he is smiling.
Thank you so much for listening to the Batman Spoiler Cast. This is the Movie Podcast. You can catch a brand new episode of our show every single Monday and watch out throughout the week for our review episodes and all the latest movies and series. Make sure you follow us at the Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, join our Discord, and write into the show at
hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca.
We have a great review out for Turning Red that you can listen to right now, so make sure you listen to it. That was This Time with the Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.